Hey, gents, I got some good news and some bad news. I'm retiring my catchphrase, we're not at reactions. I have a replacement. I'm calling it Tom209. Cha-chunk. Cha-chunk. Ken, go ahead. Let me know what you think about Robocop.
I think Robocop, given its pedigree of a European director, its scant budget for an American audience that is...
Kenny, please put down your microphone.
Oh, shit.
You have 15 seconds to comply.
How the fuck did he get in here?
I think you better do what he says, Ken.
You now have 10 seconds to comply.
Guys, take the microphone from me, will you?
You are in direct violation of Penal Code
Jesus fucking Christ.
1.13, Section 9.
I won't
You
react.
have 5 seconds to comply.
No reaction. No reaction. No. Ah!
Hey, it's the end of season 15, Squib Games, and we're doing Robocop.
Woo!
Woohoo! That's cinema, baby.
Sonny Corleone was a Long Island tough, big eggplant energy, but it wasn't enough. Quato lived in a belly, but he got one in the brain. My feet exploded, Nessie driving Robocop insane. Clyde had a gun for fighting, Bonnie wanted one for fun. They was only 24 and 25, and she got 26 shots when they died. And there were squibs when they died. 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 Yeah, they made a big mess when they died.
Welcome to The Good, the Pod, and the Ugly, a film podcast where we normally do deep dives on directors, actors, or other creatives. This season, season 15, which we are now officially at the finish line. We have done a practical effect, sometimes digital, called the Squib. If you have questions about what the hell a squib is, listen to early episodes this season. We've done a temporal pincer movement. If you have questions about that, also listen to early episodes. And we have ended up here with the second half of our final pairing, both of them from 1987, which I think we probably will all agree is the greatest year for squibs in cinema, and one of the all-time great squib films, Paul Verhoeven's Showgirls. Paul Verhoeven's Robocop.
Oh.
I'm Ken.
I'm Ryan.
This is Thomas.
And we are joined by one of our favorite guests, Erik, Blood and Popcorn screenwriter, Halloween enthusiast, blood enthusiast, who was on our... What episode were you on earlier this season?
Scarface.
Yeah, I think Scarface was my last appearance. Probably my first for the season, too. I can't remember.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for being a two-timer this season. On the podcast, I mean.
Uh-huh.
Hey, speaking of two-timers, what these films have in common, because we're pairing this with Walker, also in 1987. So that's something they have in common. They both have news in them. They both have evil moneyed interests.
Mm-hmm.
They both have televisions.
Okay.
There's a military conflict in Mexico that opens the film.
Mm-hmm.
There's privatized military and comedic violence that I think Ken last episode said has us question the enjoyment of it.
Mm-hmm.
They both might secretly be Westerns. There's scenes of looting. Someone loses an arm. And in both, your heroes are shot but survive. Both lose their wives. Both have visions of their wives. And both get new headgear from their sponsor. Manbro gives him a hat, and Bob Morton gives Robocop his helmet, cover his face.
Yep, and both have Cox.
True.
Alex Cox, director of Walker, and Ronnie Cox, who plays Dick Jones. He must have gotten a lot of guff. Guy whose last name is Cox playing a character named Dick.
Oh, because they're both terms for penis.
Oh, that too, yeah.
Oh, Robocop 1987. This is your first time watching it, Erik.
When was my first time watching it?
Oh, have you seen it before?
Oh, yes, of course. Many times.
How many times do you think you've seen it?
I'm going to probably say like from beginning to end, not counting, times when it's been on and then you finish catching it. Probably like 12, 13, maybe, from beginning to end.
Fair.
It was one of those films when I saw the trailer originally, I thought it looked stupid. So because this is during the time period when Canon Films is releasing like a lot of on the nose kind of material with on the nose titles, and it was all while a lot of us are nostalgic for that time period, not all of it was good or really it was in that so bad it's good territory. Some of it was just bad.
Yeah.
But my mother of all people, when we were watching Predator when the trailer came on, she was the one who said, "Oh, I think that looks interesting." So we ended up seeing it when it came out, and of course, like everyone else, I was blown away by it. So it was one of those pleasant surprises.
Yeah. How about you, Ryan? First time?
No, I don't know how many times I've seen this, but it's a lot. I don't know if it's reached a dozen, but it's certainly a number like that.
Yeah, I'm probably in Ryan's camp as well with that.
I saw it opening weekend. Stop me if you've heard this before from any movie from the 1980s.
Wait, was your mom with you?
No, it was my dad and my brother.
What?
Yeah. But we were actually on vacation. I don't know if vacation's quite the right word. We were visiting where my first 10 years of life in the Bay Area. So I saw it, I think, in a theater in Mountain View, California.
Wow.
And it was man, for a 16-year-old kid, Puck. This was the best movie ever made up to that point.
But in 1987, Masters of the Universe also came out.
It supplanted Masters of the Universe. How's that?
Wow.
Eric, did you saw it? Did you see it opening weekend?
Yeah, I don't know if it'd been opening weekend because we still live in Cave Junction, so that was quite the drive to get to a movie theater. But I definitely saw it in the first month that it was released.
Okay. Do you remember what theater you saw it in?
I don't know if it was the mall in Medford.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. Or if it was the Cinema Showcase in the Grants Pass Shopping Center. Yeah, I'm not sure which theater it was. It might have been the mall because that's where I ended up going a lot.
Yeah.
Because it just made a lot more sense in case you get a bunch of other stuff done while you're there.
Yeah. They had a Suncoast.
Yes.
Yeah, this movie made a huge impression on me as a 16-year-old. And this is before decades of over-marketing, oversaturating Robocop material. So to see it fresh before all that happened, it was great.
Yeah, I don't think I came to RoboCop until RoboCop 2 was in the world. Maybe even RoboCop 3.
Mm-hmm.
Almost a generational difference. But yeah, Orion had done what? Terminator and First Blood that we've covered on this series.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Great studio.
Terminator music is actually in the final trailer for RoboCop. Brad Fiedel's score is used in it. And it was a recut trailer because the marketing boys at Orion sucked. So John Davidson, the producer, who worked with Roger Corman, went to one of his old New World buddies who spent a week on it and recut the trailer, which really set the stage for people and what to expect from the movie. Big part of its success, too, one would imagine.
Yeah, Orion was kind of on a really good tear at this time period. It was interesting watching the documentary on RoboCop. That Orion was really, they were producing and distributing their own material. I mean, very, old school, which doesn't happen a lot today, unless it's a mega blockbuster. But, they went RoboCop, Silence of the Lambs, Dances with Wolves, which we ran at the movie 6 for it seemed like 9 years.
I was there for part of it.
So it was just one showing.
It's a really long movie.
Yeah.
They were just really, their development team was just on it. And it's really a shame that studio just could not survive the consolidation period that happened. And they got, they went out of business and then eventually gobbled up.
Sad.
Last week we had cocks in our mouths. Do we want to talk Verhoeven for a bit?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I haven't seen anything prior to RoboCop that he did. None of his, I was going to say Danish films. And I think that's correct, right?
Yeah.
No. Norwegian films?
Dutch. He's Dutch, right?
Dutch.
Yeah.
Dutch films.
Yeah, he made a lot of movies
afterwards,
with Rutger
after
Hauer.
RoboCop, I've seen everything but Black Book.
Yeah, Verhoeven was not on my radar at all. Until RoboCop. Then of course you get Total Recall after that, and it's just I was blown away by this movie. Felt almost like, I guess, like a video nasty. It felt like something you shouldn't be watching. It was
right.
It was a little subversive because it was. I mean, the violence. I mean, they really pushed the limits of the MPAA. I probably wore them out to a certain extent. But the level of violence, and there was a certain amount of joy in it that you were not used to, especially when Peter Weller's character is just trapped and helpless and they're just taking him apart piece by piece, before he becomes RoboCop. And it just felt dirty and grimy and edgy at the time. And yeah, that definitely had a huge impact, on me. Yeah, at that time, my early creative days, forming myself as a creative, and then Verhoeven himself, for a period, just continued to tap into that. Really became, worth watching. Really appreciated all of his efforts during that period.
So you touched upon the documentary. The documentary I watched, and I think Ryan, you watched as well, right?
Yes, I did.
RoboDoc, which is 4 parts long and about 5 hours long.
Yes.
So one of the most extensive behind the scenes making of documentaries of any film I've ever seen. Maybe too much in some instances, but what an amazing journey this had, from the basic idea to it coming out, and how difficult almost every single step of the way was. And it's one of those lightning in a bottle movies that could never be replicated. Obviously, they tried with the second one, which is garbage.
Or the third one, or the television series, or the reboot.
Or the cartoon. Yeah.
You'd be surprised at how many people defend RoboCop 2. It's one of those movies that people have dug up and suddenly declared an unheralded classic. The thing where they find something, that everyone hated at the time, like they're trying to do with the 1990s Godzilla movie. Like, oh no, you don't understand. This thing's great. Like, no,
it's the reappraisal movement.
Yeah, the reappraisal movement. They're doing that with RoboCop 2.
I tried watching some of it last night. I checked it out from the Multnomah County Library on DVD.
Shout out.
And I was surprised at how much fluorescent graffiti
it's so bad.
I was like, Schumacher should make this, right?
Right.
Well, that's a really, really good comparison, because it's like just very neon.
And there's so much kid shit in it. Like, I do like the kid who's the drug boss running stuff, but there's so many, like, he goes to an arcade, and then there's like kids all around, like they like spray paint the back of it doesn't matter. We're not talking RoboCop 2. Aside from whatever, Ken, you want to get something off your chest?
No, I think it's just one of the things about movies that hit this big and are kind of a surprise is that when they make a sequel, everybody who had a partial part in the first one all of a sudden has an idea of what made the first one work. And so you get like this melting pool of all these different people who think they know what the secret recipe is. And the secret recipe in a lot of instances that make movies like this is just happenstance. That 6 months later, the same movie could have been made by the same people and it would be completely different. And we wouldn't be talking about it.
Right.
In fact, I just talked about this on the episode that I just dropped on my podcast, as far as like all these horror remakes, these remakes of cult classics like Toxic Avenger. So many of them are of their time and place that can never be replicated. Because what was going on in the culture at the time, or, in the industry at the time, because you look at all the directors that they went to who turned it down because, number one, they were turned off by the title and just thought it was going to be some stupid, low budget sci-fi movie, and then they look back and like, oh yeah, I really passed on a huge opportunity. Well, the chances are you wouldn't have made that film,
right? So,
and if you don't get Peter Weller, is RoboCop the same? Because you'll get the people that they were going to play that role. So, I mean, the lightning in a bottle, I think is, a great, description of a lot of these movies, like Godfather, right?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect cast. Perfect director, right time, right studio, right people behind it. And I think, some of these things are happy accidents to a large extent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that really comes across in the documentary, I think, Eric.
Yeah.
So the budget for this thing was like 13 million. In today's money, I looked it up, that would be around 30 million. And even if some of the other pretty great directors who they were looking at could do this movie, I don't think anybody else could make such a movie at that price point, either then or now,
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's 13 million, but then you have to back out the million that they spent just on the costume.
Right.
Well worth it. And just like Alien and Predator, one of the reasons RoboCop has survived culturally, besides it being a great movie, is because it's just such a cool fucking design.
No, yes, but I don't think it's not just the design. And I'm sorry, I didn't do my full research. I didn't watch Robocop 3, where there's somebody else in the suit. But I would say that Weller's creation of the movement of Robocop makes that suit work. Like, there's so many ways you could easily see this film. I watched the first 2 episodes of the documentary being a really shitty film that Erik probably thought it was going to be watching the preview.
Yeah, well,
I've watched a lot of really bad B films from the 80s, and this could have easily been one of those.
Yep, absolutely.
No franchise.
I think Weller, and then his instinct to bring in the body movement coach guy, the dance instructor, and that's how they came up with how he should be moving. And again, that's just like him thinking, outside the box, like, what the hell can I do to make this stupid suit work?
Well, but it's just like Predator in a way, because originally Predator was going to be Jean-Claude Van Damme, right? And originally Robocop was supposed to be much more fluid, like a martial artist.
Yeah, and they worked 6 months. They worked 6 months on movement design, and then once he got in the suit, it was like, what the fuck do we do? So they had to fly the guy out, and they had to, and a very philosophical movement instructor who found something that Weller really glommed onto. Yeah, you're right. The performance of Weller inside that suit is astonishing.
Well, it also shows a fantastic creative collaboration,
right?
To where there's a problem, and then these people kind of check their egos at the door and said, "Okay, let's come up with something." And it really, I think, especially when you watch a documentary, even though it sounds like things did get heated at some point, because there's a lot of pressure on everybody. You're just burning money while you're just on trying to get the damn suit right. You haven't shot a frame. But at some point, everyone comes together to solve, a problem. And the documentary, I think, shows a fantastic collaborative effort to, everyone focused on the same goal of, let's get this fucking movie made. And that's great. That was great to see.
Yeah. It, not to spend too much time beating one of my horses, but this movie, I think, really shows how the auteurist theory doesn't really go very far in capturing the totality of the process to make a movie, because when you look at the way the film is shot and edited together, you can certainly see Verhoeven's personality and point of view coming through crystal clear. But the documentary really shows that there's 50 or 100 people who all made crucial decisions in the process and threw in crucial work. And without any of them, this movie would not work nearly as well as it does. So it really was an amazing collaboration that brings this to the screen.
Yeah, but it's really Verhoeven, or Verhoeven, as Weller calls him, and Weller. These two, everybody calls them variations of madmen.
Right. And
those two guys at this particular time was really, really quite magical. And every single person on the set, every single person who worked on that movie said it was miserable, a rotten experience, except for the crew of bad guys. They seemed to have a good time. Everybody else was working like 20 hours a day. And the tech part is astonishing how much work they had to do every day and every night.
Yeah, I think the most astounding thing I heard listening to the Blu-ray commentary was that they spent a full day, and it makes sense, but just to think about spending a full day for one shot, which is Robocop leaving the precinct, where he gets the car keys thrown to him and he catches them.
Right.
They shot that. Oh, did they say that on the documentary as well?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. Over and over again, they had to shoot that so he could blindly catch a pair of car keys. And it's worth it because it's an amazing moment in the film.
It's totally badass. There are a lot of single take shots where there's no cuts in the police station that I didn't even realize till I watched the documentary.
Exactly.
Verhoeven stages it so well and make so much stuff is happening at once. You don't even notice that it's a oneer. Like oneers now, as they call them, are so in your face. I still love them. I'm not going to lie. But the way he integrates it in the story, you never feel like, where's the cut going to come? Because I didn't even realize we were in a single shot most of the time. It just followed people throughout the police station.
Yeah, I
Amazing.
mean that was using the Linzer, and maybe somebody could pronounce his name better than I can. Joost Vacano, the guy from Das Boot. He had
Yeah.
his own Steadicam rig that he had created
Yeah.
for Das Boot that
It
they
was really
used for
loud.
this.
Yeah.
Well, and it's incredibly immersive. It really puts you inside the story. Almost as though, like, when you talk about the police station, like you're walking around the police station as this is unfolding.
Mhm.
And it's very economical, because setups take a lot of time. So the more you can do in a single setup, the better for your schedule.
Does anybody want to talk about Miner and Neumeier and Miner, the writers of the script, and the genesis of it? Anybody want to take a crack?
I mean, you watched hours worth of stuff to be able to talk for a few minutes.
I
So
actually
why don't
watched.
you?
I ended up watching 45 minutes of RoboCop 2 and the first 20 minutes of the 2014 remake with Joel Kinnaman. So,
Oh wow! I didn't know you knew him.
yeah, it was like having a commentary right next to me.
Oh.
Anyway, I kicked him out after 15 minutes because it sucked.
Well, I mean, Neumeier reteamed with Verhoeven on Starship Troopers, so they probably got along well enough.
Well,
for
he also
that.
really liked Starship Troopers because he wrote the sequels as well, right?
Yeah, all of
Right.
them.
And directed the third.
And not to be, left out because this is really important. He wrote Anacondas, The Hunt for the Blood Orchid.
Yes.
The all
Oh,
important S, Anacondas.
I love a sequel with an S. Yeah, he wanted to. He loved robots. Miner loved satire and wanted to make a business sci-fi mashup. And then they met, and it was basically like two kids at a playground. Like, I like Legos. Let's be best friends.
Right,
And
right.
They worked on the script for RoboCop, and at one point, Neumeier was a reader, and then he became like an executive at the studio, and he wanted to really get into the script and finish it. So he told them someone in his family had died, so he could take off time and finish the script in a hotel room with Miner. And they even sent him flowers. He's probably gotten a lot of free drinks off of that anecdote, by the way. He seems really proud of it. But yeah, they worked on it a long time, but also the connections.
Wait, Ken.
Yeah.
Do you have a younger sister?
No, I have
So
an
that
older
was all
sister.
a lie. That was all just to get out of work and not do the podcast for 2 months so you could work on your book.
That's true. Yes.
God, such a moron.
Yeah. And one of the reasons this movie even got greenlit so easily is because of the success of Terminator we were just talking about. And at one point they were even thinking about Schwarzenegger as RoboCop, which is ridiculous given the suit. He wouldn't be able to fit through a fucking door.
Yeah.
And that
well-
because they were like, it's got a robot in it. Hey, we just had a popular robot movie. Yeah, we'll greenlight it. It was that easy. That was literally the conversation.
Well, they also said, I mean, originally, like, I think Universal didn't go for this, like, passed on it, even though he was working there, because they wanted the robot to look more human. Like, they said, like, if
Yeah.
you have a robot, it should look like the $5 Million Man.
Yeah.
That's how you make movies easy.
Yeah.
And then I think Terminator helped, change some, like, Orion and other people's ideas around that.
Yeah, they were at an early screening of Terminator before they finished the script, and it
So
inspired
if they
them.
went to a screening of Terminator and then they wrote the script RoboCop, do they owe Harlan Ellison residuals?
I think we
I
all
think he would
owe
make
Harlan
his
Ellison
estate
just
would make the case.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
I think
Ellison.
we all owe Ellison residuals. You will eventually. Just
Yeah,
write the check now.
his lawyer's on the phone right now because we mentioned his name.
That'll be $650.
I guess Weller got this off of Buckaroo Banzai, which is interesting to think of.
He was
But-
also in like Shoot the Moon and what was that horror movie he was in? Eric?
Leviathan?
No, I think that was after.
Oh yeah, because they say Leviathan was after RoboCop.
Yeah.
So
He was in some horror movie. Put it in the show notes, Thomas.
Okay. Just
A
that he was in
very-
a generic horror movie.
Yeah, he's a very intense actor with, as we learned last week, similar physical resemblance to Ed Harris.
Yeah.
But actually, I think I would imagine much more slender. being a marathon runner, and that was actually what worked for him in being able to be in that suit.
Yeah. Anybody who watched the entirety of the RoboDoc, Weller is still fucking insane.
Yeah, you could really see how he and Verhoeven had built a reputation on set, because Weller is incredibly over the top even in his old age.
The amount of soul and pathos he put into thinking about his character, and then mixed with Verhoeven's this is Jesus. It's a metaphor for Jesus, Robocop.
Blood! Want more blood?
It shouldn't work. It should have just closed the set on a daily basis, but somehow everybody made it work.
Oh, I think it's crazy about Verhoeven is he's like, you know what? That office scene with Ed 209, it cuts together, but I think it needs a little bit more. So they bring everybody back for a 3-day reshoot.
They had to rebuild the entire room.
Uh-huh. Just so they could put more squibs on that guy.
Well, just one end.
Kenny.
Speaking to our season and its theme, this is still, right, that guy's the most squibbed actor in history, is that right?
Yep. And he had to do it twice. And they shot the one they redid more than once. And then the documentary says one went off by his left nut. That's got to be painful.
Yeah, he actually got burned, and it's actually one of the reasons why a lot of actors don't like squibs, because these really are just small explosive devices taped to your body. So he actually got burned a little bit, and it's not uncommon for actors to get a little singed from squib.
But Peter Weller in the documentary actually says, "Thank God we don't need them anymore," when talking about the squibs in his torture murder sequence early in the film.
I think in the documentary, Nancy Allen is the only actor who doesn't really complain about the squibs. I knew that
she did.
Did she?
She's like the squibs, and then the cold water in that.
That's
yeah.
right. Yeah.
I'm a mess.
I knew that squibs could be painful, but from the sound of it, they always are, or at least on the set of RoboCop, they always were.
Well, because there's so fucking many of them.
Right.
I mean, that guy who plays Kinney, Jesus fucking Christ. Peak squib.
I think at some point squibs became impractical when action scenes started getting way more complex and ballet style. You think about the John Wick stuff, you know, because these are, you know, basically radio controlled devices, and if you're moving around a lot, they can come off, you know, with the sweat, you know, because they're taped on or glued on. So at some point they did become somewhat, you know, impractical. And it's hard, like if you don't pass your MPAA rating and you're trying to get an R, it's hard to go back and undo a squib without, you know, editing the film, where you can just digitally remove your digital squib.
Yeah, I wonder what that actor who played Kinney felt when it was like, wait, they cut some of those squibs out
like
so they could get it rated R?
Yeah, the leg parts I think is where they cut. You still get the stuff in the chest, but when he overdoes it into the leg, which is probably where he got hit in the nut. So you all did all that for nothing.
Do you think your testicles are near your legs, Kenneth?
Well, no, yeah, they are.
Okay. Hey, different strokes, different folks, man. When you were saying a madman, I thought you were going to also talk about Verhoeven playing Ed 209.
Yes.
Or that did you guys, is it part of the doc?
Yes.
That he's in the club scene for one shot?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It looked like he was having a grand old time.
Not as grand as Sam Peckinpah on the set of Convoy. Listen to last week's episode for that anecdote. But
by the way, that horror film that Weller was in was of unknown origin that he did with George P. Cosmatos.
There you go. And he routine with Cosmatos on Leviathan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't even mention, not to put tie a bow on something I mentioned during the FX episode, but Sage Parker as Dr. Tyler might be the inciting incident of my love of women with
the glasses?
Oversized frames.
Yeah, Robocop 2, that actress is replaced, as is her frames, or as are her frames.
Yep. Huge letdown.
That little New Year's Eve kiss, that little thing. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That'll do it.
She was great. The entire cast, though, is phenomenal. particularly Ronnie Cox, who had been wanting to play a villain for a while, playing against type as Dick Jones, who's out of this world amazing, and Miguel Ferrer, R.I.P., as Bob.
Yeah, that scene that the Dick Jones Cox said he wanted to shoot like a seduction scene.
Yeah.
In the bathroom, whenever there's mention, he's like, "Oh, that guy's on the way out," and then everybody flees the restroom. One of the things, and this isn't a reaction, it's just a comment about this film that I noticed this, I don't know, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th viewing, is how many extras and how just populated this world seems to be. And I'm not sure if other things I'm watching are less populated, but it just feels like there's a lot more extras in this film than there are in many other films.
I would agree. It does particularly the business and the police stuff seem very crowded, and it's very intentional to have them kind of crowded in a similar way, but on completely different levels. I would say the freeway chase, though, seems weirdly underpopulated, but that's a budgetary constraint more than anything else.
Yeah, I think some people don't. I'm glad you mentioned this, because I don't think people understand how great extras are for filling out your world. I mean, look at Jaws. Spielberg had just like a ton of like locals, in all those scenes, and it really, brings Amity to life and the world that they're living in. And I think Verhoeven does a great job of that with this one, as far as like what modern Detroit, looks like in this film.
Yeah, filmed in Dallas.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, some of us filmed in Dallas, right?
Yeah, but all the exteriors and whatnot. I think the Dallas courthouse, the lower part of the Omnicorps building, that's what it is. And then they had a matte painter just extend it up, make it a skyscraper.
Yeah, one of the sad things or seemingly sad things in the Blu-ray commentary is called Special Effects Then and Now. And it's talking to a lot of the matte painter predominantly about how they created the effects, created these different forced perspectives, but also how that would be gone within 10 years and replaced by digital effects. So the things are not done in camera.
Yep.
Almost ever.
And I also don't think has anybody really talked about Kurtwood Smith yet, the main bad guy, Ronnie Cox's right hand man. I mean, he's just fantastic in this role.
He is. The notion of giving him glasses and making him look like, if you just saw him on the street, you'd think he was like a geology teacher or something at a community college. He is one nasty fucker. And his then wife plays Dick Jones's secretary. When he puts the gum on her little nameplate, says maybe you could fit me in later.
Yeah, I think a lot of that was improvised, and that guy is just amazing to watch on camera. I think originally he was supposed to have the Ferreira, the Bob Morton. Like, I think that's what he wanted to be in the movie, and then instead they moved him over. They gave him those glasses so that he would look more like a Nazi, is what I think
like Himmler.
Verhoeven said. Okay, yeah.
Okay.
And in the documentary, didn't he say that he improvised that "bitches leave" line?
Well, no, it's in the script because Verhoeven says he didn't understand what bitches were, and so he thought that that's what they were, and so they're laughing in the background. Is Verhoeven saying like, "Can we get the bitches, please? Can we get the bitches? Bitches on set."
He did improvise pretty much the whole scene with the drug dealer at the drug factory later, at the cocaine factory.
Oh, where he puts his fingers in the wine and smells them or something?
Yeah, right. He snorts the wine.
Oh, that is insane.
I mean, then again, that's one of those organic instinct things that they stand out as significant, scenes from the film, but they're like just purely organic in the moment. Some of those things you just can't script. Sometimes an actor's instinct is just, right on the money.
Yeah, Verhoeven really went with instincts of a lot of his actors. Put a lot of trust in them.
He didn't seem to meddle at all with Weller's choices with Robocop, with the body movement and stuff. And particularly after watching the documentary, going back and watching the movie, you really see how, to your point about the one-shots, Ken, everything is so precise in the movie but it comes off as seamless. It just comes off as a enjoyable movie, even though people are really sweating to get everything correct.
Yeah, I think the last episode where people talk about like the first time seeing it that worked on it similar to what we talked about last week with Walker and having like a crew member watching the movie, is that they didn't. A lot of people may have not thought it was going to be that great of a movie, that good of a movie, even. But when you see it, and Verhoeven's vision that he had, a very strong philosophical vision on something that is essentially a B movie. Yeah, everybody's amazed. How could you not be? You go do this movie and you think it's going to be. It's called Robocop, for fuck's sake. It's not going to be very good. It's made by this Dutch director who's made one American film. Completely a surprise movie. How good it is and how it's still resonant today.
Ed Neumeyer, one of the screenwriters, talks in depth about how so much of the early reaction and the studio reaction to the script was based on how dumb the name was, and how he was just white knuckling it through, hoping that if they could make it to theaters with that name, it would suddenly click and people would really get it. But just calling it RoboCop was almost poison for production.
Yeah, like I said, hindsight and everything, but it is a pretty stupid title.
And the other thing about the script, circling back just real quick, is that Neumeyer and Miner kind of predict like the arrival of companies like Amazon, right? OCP, private corporations taking over the police, and they're like making everything, right? So it's like Amazon, is now getting into medicine and telehealth and, home security and things like that. I mean, so just really was the head of the curve as far as like the privatization of absolutely everything, and turning over control to private companies. So if you look at it through that lens, you're just kind of like, oh man, this is like it's we were warned.
We were talking about 1987, where most police officers still dressed like we imagine them in like the 50s and 60s and 70s. But particularly the scene where they're shooting RoboCop, his own fellow officers trying to kill him, I think, is the one scene that always gets to me emotionally.
Yeah,
the pathos, and it's like he's a cop. He was killed on duty, turned into a product by a corporation running the police, and then that same corporation is telling all his fellow officers to eliminate him. It's so tragic. But they're also
like the
militarized.
Moment, right?
They're all dressed like soldiers, which right now it's commonplace because police just dress like soldiers now.
Yeah.
But in 1987, it was like a quasi-futuristic thing.
And they all have machine guns and some tank-like vehicles and stuff. It's very, very prescient on the militarization of the police.
But I also wonder if, like, even at that moment, though, there's some envy or dislike of RoboCop by the normal police officers, just because he represents sort of an end to their. It's like automation replacing workers.
He's a self-checkout line while they're cashiers.
Right.
Yeah. So there may be an implication that there's some sense of like, trying to eliminate, the thing that's going to eventually eliminate them.
Both scenes of RoboCop both getting killed by the bad guys and then trying to be killed by the police officers. Both those scenes are still pretty powerful.
Yeah, I do wonder how Lewis was able to get down there with her car and know that it was him and all those other pieces. But this is the second movie we've watched this season where the police are on strike.
Shit.
I'm trying to think of the other one. What's the other one?
Really?
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw it to Erik for John Woo's first movie in the States.
And Hard Target.
Yeah, you're right.
There's a cop strike. And the lone detective is the only one who's keeping things together.
Yeah, but I have a piece of cake on fire in her desk drawer. Great job, detective.
One of the things that I do that does not concern me, but just makes me a little sad is that once you realize you have a hit on your hands, then you're, the traditional trying to milk it for all it's worth, because you do get into like the cartoons and the comic books, and then they tried to dial it down to make it,
PG-13?
Kid friendly. I mean, this is sort of what happened with, Freddy Krueger from the Nightmare on Elm Street. Like once they realized they had a pop culture icon on their hands, it's pretty hard, to make a child molester into a kid friendly, product for peaches and underoos and things like that. But they sure as hell tried. Yeah. So, so you hate to see that happen, but it's just, no one's going to leave money on the table with this stuff.
Well, it shows how crazy the 80s and early 90s were, because just the idea that, as something they talk about in the documentary, a lot of kids were seeing this at 8, 9, and 10. Mm-hmm. And I certainly saw RoboCop for the first time before Total Recall came out, and I would have been 10 or 11 at a friend's house watching it. And then it seemed natural that there was a TV show and an animated show and action figures and later the PG-13 movie. But if you think about it now, that's just fucking insane. You know, like,
I mean, Rambo, got his own cartoon.
yeah, yeah.
And there's all kinds of stuff blowing up and people getting shot at, but amazingly, no one gets killed.
Right, right.
I guess we've already got sort of done reactions, but could we do some fanfare and talk about the squibs in this movie? Rat-tat-tat. This is a perfect movie to end the season with, as I think I talked about last week. This is probably the best Squib movie possibly ever made, but also their use has us questioning our desire to see them, because they get into the area of satire. And I think it's a brilliant way to end the season on Robocop, because at the same time they're cool, it's also like, this is pretty ridiculous, and real people get killed, and why am I enjoying this? So Verhoeven taps into something by continually asking for more blood and more squibs. I think this is the greatest Squib movie ever made.
Yeah, I think there's a great case for it to be made. My favorite Squib would be the 100 that go off on our poor friend Kenny.
It's Kenny, not Kenny.
Yeah.
Don't rope me into this.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, there are other great individual squibs throughout, but just the sheer number and the overwhelming way in which that scene rolls out is really impressive and kind of astounding.
Thomas?
I'm just thinking that I'm a little upset that we don't get a dick squib or a satin squib.
We get a skirt squib.
We do, and that's like this, like almost a merger of those two.
Yeah.
Right.
I have a list of the squibs in this movie if you want to hear them.
Wow.
Kenny squibs, leg squibs, sweater squibs, TV set squibs, leg squibs multiple times, cocaine squib, factory squibs, more Kenny squibs, friendly fire into box squibs, glass squibs, door squibs, more Kenny squibs, wall squibs, coke squibs, robo squibs, skirt squib, more TV squibs, more Kenny squibs, dick squibs, hand squibs, bulletproof vest squibs, and Peter Weller puppet squibs.
I think it could also be made the case that it's probably the most artful and intentional use of squibs, because I think Verhoeven was very precise in where he wanted a lot of these placed, especially when Nancy Allen gets shot in the finale. I'm seeing some behind the scenes stuff in it. I don't know if it was in the documentary or not. I actually think I saw this on Entertainment Tonight way back in the day, but it's the behind the scenes stuff where he specifically wanted that first shot to hit her in the shoulder, and he's directing her on, how should she react to that? Not just fall back, but like keep a majority of her body still, and then the shoulder just shoot back from the impact of the bullet, and then the squib goes off. And because he felt that that's the way that would happen, like your body, where you get shot is going to react before the rest of your body reacts.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was very intentional as far as where he wanted these things placed, which is, a credit to just, the vision that he had for the film, especially the overwhelming violence, where the kid gets killed by Ed 209. I think he knew exactly what he was doing. I don't think anyone was just like, I want more blood because I want more blood. He wanted more because he really had a vision for what these scenes should be, what they should represent.
Right.
And I think it's probably the most artful use of squibs in a film that we've probably seen.
And I think it's fascinating, Erik, juxtaposing that with kind of the action, because after watching Robocop in the documentary, I went back and watched Total Recall and Starship Troopers, and comparing Verhoeven's movies to like McTiernan and other directors working in the late 80s. The action is really not very good in and of itself. It's not bad, but it's pretty by the numbers, the way all the gunfights roll out and stuff. But the squibs and the repercussions of that action is so thought out and detailed. It really makes up for the fact that a lot of scenes are just kind of clumsily choreographed when it comes to the action.
I'm going to stick up for my Dutch boy and say those three films you mentioned are all sci-fi films as well versus action films. And so there's something amazing to RoboCop walking in and no-look shooting people that you can't quite do in an action movie and have it seem realistic.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And his choreography in the Coke factory is stunning in retrospect. On the documentary, when they're re-showing it, talking about the moves that Weller helped choreograph for RoboCop, it's amazing.
Yeah. That is a very powerful scene and very well staged and acted.
I would say, yeah, if you're saying that he doesn't have the tension of like, I don't know, Jurassic Park 2 with the stuff in the tree, or maybe Indiana Jones in the temple. Like, I would say, yeah, you're probably right on that. But I would also point out that what's pretty amazing is that he's able to pull all this off in the key of science fiction.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to be clear, I think this is an absolutely fantastic movie. I was thinking of something like Die Hard, where the blood and the squibs are kind of secondary, but the action is just very exciting. Like the way that movie is shot, the way all the action scenes roll out, just has a level of detail and care that I think is the one area where Verhoeven, compared to other action directors, is a little weak. I think everything else he does is far beyond what those other guys are capable of doing. But
I get what you're saying. It's like, so for some of those action sequences, or some of those guys like Materia at the time, the squib is sort of the exclamation point for the action sequence.
Yes.
Whereas, here for Verhoeven, it's almost reverse.
Yes.
So no, I get what you're saying with there. Like, I would agree with that to a certain extent. Yeah.
And so, not to lose the over topness, I would love to talk about the television segments, but also because that's where a lot of the real violence or the bigger violence comes in. And no, we're not going to talk about House of Dynamite or whatever you wanted to talk about there, Ken. But one of my favorite things in all of film is the toxic waste. Getting hit by the car and just the wetness of it, and how long that guy survives, becoming worse and worse until he's finally just made a puddle by being hit. It's one of my favorite things of all time. Like I don't know why. Maybe it was the time that I watched it. I probably saw this in lieu of the cartoon. But that is one of my favorite over-the-top things that has nothing to do with gunplay or
but I think it plays into what we're just talking about as far as like an exclamation point. Because I think for that particular scene, it's like you've seen so much, and Verhoeven's like, just hang on a second.
What happened? Because it's not just that he gets hit by the car; it's that it happens over. Like he gets progressively worse, and he continues to survive,
right?
Just to be hit.
The MPAA wanted them to cut that out because they claimed it was a decapitation. And Mike Medavoy, to his credit, head of Orion Pictures, went to the mat saying, "Well, it's so ridiculous the stuff they argue about. It's not because he's like disintegrating, so it's not really a decapitation." And that was the one thing he really went to the floor to keep in the movie. And it is one of the most iconic moments in the movie. Seeing it in a theater on opening weekend, a packed theater, that moment, holy shit, man, just erupts. In disgust and laughter at the same time.
It is one of the things that struck me listening to Neumeier talk about that in the doc was that it feels like something, it's so kind of random compared to the rest of the story, just introducing toxic waste at that point, etc. That I was surprised to find out it was in the script, that was something that he had written and then Verhoeven expanded upon, because it feels like some bananas thing that Verhoeven might have just added, while shooting, just being like, well, now we need to do this.
Yeah, everybody gets a pretty good demise there at the finale. And then like Kurtwood Smith getting the spike in the neck, and Verhoeven off camera throwing a cup of fake blood.
Yeah. Incredible.
Yeah. Phenomenal.
Yeah, I'm always surprised. I think this film is very tight and it's very economical. And so I'm always surprised at how late and how few mentions. I think it's only one that the data spike gets.
Yeah.
They hang a little bit of a lantern on it whenever the people react to seeing it. There's that. And then there's how late that the fourth directive comes into the film as well.
Right.
It's always surprising to me, no matter how many times I've seen it.
Well, and speaking of the data spike, Thomas, another thing that they talked about in the documentary was they didn't have the ending They shot the initial data spike scene in the police headquarters, and then on the day of filming the finale, somebody suggested that they could recall that. So it wasn't meant to be like a Chekhov's gun sort of situation, even though it plays perfectly in that manner in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah. And then when he uploads the video in the boardroom at the end and it's covered in dried blood.
Yeah.
There was an additional media minute that happened after Robocop says Murphy, and they wisely kept that out of the movie and ended it where it needed to end.
Oh, that's going to come at the end of it? Is that the one where Ann Lewis is in the hospital?
Yeah. Yeah. And
she says the same.
You can't stay in the heat. Stay out of the kitchen.
Which I thought was weird and like not sexist, but potentially. But I guess that's also what is said at the very beginning of the film.
Mm-hmm. By Ronnie Cox.
Ronnie Cox says it about the police strike.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing, Ken, you mentioned the cup of blood that Verhoeven throws on Weller when he is killing Bodiger. This actually has some of the best blood that I've ever seen in a film.
Uh-huh.
It's very dark, and that was all done by Rob Bottin, who also did all the effects on The Thing.
Yeah.
And
I watched that last week, by the way.
Yeah.
Good job.
He just was doing some amazing work in the 80s. And, so yeah, that's some of that blood, like it's very dark, and it just, because the brighter the blood is, the more it kind of like takes you out of it. Because we've all seen our own blood at some point in time, and it is very dark. And Bottin just really absolutely nails the look of that blood and the viscosity of it.
Mm-hmm.
It was really well done. And then of course everything else he did in this damn movie is just amazing work.
Yeah.
Too bad that he just kind of like walked away. But I get it. He took on some huge projects, and I bet his nerves and stuff in dealing with this kind of stuff, it probably was just got to be a little much.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see from looking at shoots like this how somebody like Phil Tippett could get a reputation for being a very cantankerous madman. Just the work those guys were putting in is a tremendous amount of work, and then you can show something to a boss and they're like, that's not really it. Go back and try again. It also, I thought the documentary, I think they talked too much to the actors, but I loved how much time they spent with the behind the scenes crew. And something I kept thinking about was I had a friend who used to do digital effects in Hollywood, and she worked on the first Ghost Rider movie. And when she was explaining the process to me, it's like you have a bunch of people on computers in an office working on Ghost Rider's head and the flames, and then they go to a boardroom and talk with the director and the producers and the studio about if it works and whether it should be changed, and how different a process that is from having, all of these separate technicians working basically in private to develop the look and feel of everything, and how all the decisions are made on set by the creatives working together. And it's nothing like a corporate decision-making tree like they seem to have in Hollywood today when it comes to the computer graphics.
The vibe I was getting from some of the special features on the Blu-ray is that was a little atypical. Typically, your producers and your director are a little bit more hands-on. But for this, Lightning in a Bottle, Verhoeven was much less hands-on than other directors.
Well, there's a lot to be said for the inspiration in the moment, because a lot of people don't know that in Friday the 13th Part 3, where Jason gets the now infamous hockey mask, it was a decision in the moment. That wasn't in the script. It was just something that they said, hey, how about would it be cool if he came out wearing the hockey mask so the girl thinks it's the character Shelley, and then from then on, that became the iconic image to represent the Friday the 13th franchise. So you talk about creatives and special effects people trying to solve problems. There's something to be said for just that organic, in the moment, inspiration. And it's the more we get to computerized CGI and AI and things like that, you lose that. Yeah, and that's where films just feel kind of flat now.
Yeah,
and they feel way too planned and way too organized and way too template. And overthought. And
maybe
that's what we're missing from a lot of them.
I mean, maybe we have more. That might be true, but we also have the other end of that tale as well, I guess, right? Where because things are a little bit less planned, or people are like, oh, Robocop worked, this other ridiculous script might make sense. So that the rules of universes change. I just watched the 4 Wishmasters and the 4 Ghoulies. And the rules for those films change every film. And so I guess there is something to also be said about having a Bible for like what's consistent between movies.
Yeah.
Instead of just trying to instead of assuming that things are going to work. Because whenever I watch a terrible film, I'm wondering if the people on set know it's going to be as bad as it turns out to be. Or if they go home every day going, man, we just did another Robocop.
Yeah. And how do you even know if you did a Robocop? Because they were all so fucking exhausted and miserable. They had no idea. They were so in the moment, they had no idea what the final result would be.
No, and when things are going wrong and like you said, everyone's exhausted and you're just doing it in chunks and you get so caught up in the moment, you can't imagine all those chunks ever fitting together. And just, this is like Richard Dreyfuss with Jaws. He went on, I think it was a Dinosaur show, and said that Jaws was going to be a disaster because everything was disorganized and nothing worked. And then, Final Cut comes out and like, oh, holy shit, this is an all-time classic. So I think it's really easy to lose perspective when you're in crew and you're just trying to survive every day and you can't see any of this ever fitting together to make a cohesive film.
Richard Dreyfuss also went on the Dinosaur show and said, Always is the best film ever made. You'll see when it comes out.
Steven Spielberg and me back together again.
And I think the last episode of the doc, a lot of, speaking to what you're saying, Eric, a lot of the crew talk about how they had no idea what Verhoeven was shooting as far as how it would all cut together, that it was so aggressively satirical. And so people who didn't like working on the movie, didn't like Verhoeven, went and saw it for the first time and were really surprised at how strong the satire was and how controlled the tone was, because on set he was just yelling at everyone and running around like a maniac.
Yeah. I don't want to forget Nancy Allen in the RoboDoc in her early 70s when it was filmed. Still looks amazing. Retired from acting in the late 2000s to be chairman of the We Spark Cancer Foundation in Southern California. She is great and she is not crazy. She seems to have maintained a lot of what made her such a great actress in the 1980s. Wonderful presence. Every time I cut to her, she's just so genuine and doesn't really have that much negative to say other than sometimes being uncomfortable on the set with squibs and cold water. Yeah, she was lovely.
And even though it wasn't a role that was written without a gender in mind, it is. I do appreciate I guess Verhoeven, everybody's showering together, just like in Starship Troopers. That they don't. I think that's one of the things that they bring out in some Q&As is they maybe overplay it, but that's just from maybe our perspective now. But in the 80s, to have a badass like she is as a cop seemed to give a bit of empowerment.
Yeah, agreed.
Especially as her other roles, she was mainly in lingerie prior to that.
Well, she was married to Brian De Palma for a spell.
Oh, is that right?
Comes with the territory.
So yeah. Yeah, at the wedding ceremony, instead of handing over a ring, he handed over a box of lingerie.
Did they talk about the gun in the documentary?
Yeah.
Okay.
All of them.
Okay. Just real quick, the Desert Eagle, which is what's used in the 209 scene at 209, was supposed to be RoboCop's gun. Did they say that?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Oh.
And then they had that's a real Beretta that they use, which is an automatic, but they then added like fins to it and they like 1950s carved it up. They just made it look bigger.
Yeah.
That's
they
all.
They never quite explain where the bullets come from, but I don't question it too much.
Yeah.
It's called RoboCop, for fuck's sake. How pedantic are you going to get? And
then the gun, the cannon that they're running around with, blowing stuff up. Like, I like it. That's like in Rambo, supposed to be shot off of a tripod. That's supposed to be carried around. And when I say Rambo, I mean First Blood.
Right.
I just wanted to say that. That's off my punch list now.
Okay. Yeah, we got the guns out of the way. We got Nancy Allen.
We get another Heat Vision in a movie.
That's right. The same year as Predator.
Right?
Predator's 87 as well, right?
It is.
Yeah, it opened in June, and RoboCop opened in July.
Wow.
They handled it a little differently in this one, though. They painted people, right? And then they shot it against a black screen, and then overlaid it, as I
Yeah.
recall.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't. They didn't come out with that. I just picked up on it watching it.
There are so many practical solutions to problems, like his target vision. That has to be animated. There is no computer way of doing it. The difficulty in doing it practically, and the levels of the plating that they have to do to combine it to the finished film, is astonishing. Like Ryan was saying, you don't even notice it. It's just so seamless. Like when they're adjusting his helmet on his head, and the grid is getting closer. Yeah, you don't think about how difficult it was just to get that shot.
Well, I guess the only thing I dislike about this film I can think of is I think it adds to or plays into that fear of the city. The perception of like crime being endemic in the city, and cities are dangerous places. I can't go to the city because I might get knife raped or decapitated.
Uh-huh.
So I just wanted to say that. There's a nice moment in the Picard series, this is for Ken, where Troy says to Riker that she misses the city, like, and having good coffee and people to talk to. And that played well for me.
All right.
I wish there were more movies defending cities.
Well, I don't know if that is, because I think about a lot, like the amount of propaganda that we've gotten from films and TV over the decades, and why a movie like this works within that. And it almost plays as a satire of a parody of that idea that cities are this amoral, drug-addicted hellhole that a corporation you could easily imagine them coming in and making it seem like it's worse than it is in order to destroy it and build their little super mall. I would push back a little.
Okay. I mean, we know that Murphy comes from a different part of the city, but we never really fully, I guess, see it. We just see the suburbs.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking to your point about how the movie handles propaganda, juxtaposing this with Walker, I mean, to me, this is how you do a great satire, because Murphy is a monster. He is a robot meant to mercilessly enforce the law, but you really do grow to connect with him and to feel for him, even though there's another version of this film where he is just as terrible and unsympathetic as OCP is.
Yeah, I think during the Walker episode, I mentioned that these movies coming out around the same time, that what Verhoeven is using language that we're used to in the action or the cop film. And then at once commenting on it while also reinforcing what we like about it. It's a really fine line to walk. And Walker just is so far into satire, which I love. But it speaks to why it wasn't that successful, or wasn't successful at all.
Right.
And why this one was, because you could see anybody from any quadrant, any political point of view could go to this and get something out of it. And that's not easy to do with an action movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially an action movie with a cop. Is that it? Did I lose you guys?
No,
I'm here.
I was just trying to pick up on whose desk was being reorganized.
It's not mine.
It's not mine.
If you saw my desk, you would probably think it needed reorganizing.
Same.
Erik has like 5 desks.
Yeah,
He's got like a whole media setup. He's like one of those guys in the movie that has multiple screens.
Yeah,
like in House of Dynamite.
Yeah, I got 4 screens
film.
now. I got a full-on command center, so I'm perfectly set for evil villain mode at this point.
Okay, we are going to wrap up RoboCop, and then Ryan Thomas and I are going to discuss the season and the next season and whatnot.
Yeah.
So, do you have any closing thoughts on Robo?
I think for me, like I said, it's a very influential film, especially at that point where I'm really figuring out who I am as a creative. And I mentioned this earlier, it's one of those films that you can't replicate. You can only see it for the first time once, which is one of the disappointing things in life.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think it's a great piece of cinema history about a time period that will, never really exist again to a certain extent, just because the way the industry's changed.
Yeah.
And I think it's just, it's an all-time classic, and it should be. And I think it's definitely got Verhoeven at this time period where he was just really seeing the entire field. And even if no one else could see it, like he did, he clearly was. And classic, absolute classic.
Yeah, I think the reason this movie is successful, we talk a lot about hacks in a good way on this podcast, where journeyman directors who know what the job is and know how to do it on budget, etc., and how they're great for certain types of films. Verhoeven is so distinct in how he made this movie that having someone like Irvin Kershner come in and do the sequel, a great hack, one of the greats, it's just an absolute disaster because that's not what the first movie had. They're trying to recreate a recipe of bread without having any flour. The end. Can you make bread without flour? Did I just make that up? You can do that, right?
Yeah, that's gluten-free bread.
Fuck that. Erik, tell us a little bit about what's going on in your podcast. And
just dropped an episode a couple days ago on Blood and Popcorn, and it's talking about sort of the box office revenue for horror films so far this year and what studios can take from it. Because I think if they were to look at the grosses, they would be a little confused. But to the horror fan, it's not really confusing at all. And it really seems that original films did really well, and people are definitely craving original films, and not all IPs are equal. So really, really diving into that and what it looks like and what we can expect moving forward.
And do you think there's going to be another I Know What You Did Last Summer, given how they
there will not be. I don't think so. Because that's the other thing I talk about is that that I feel like some studio execs don't actually know any real people. And if they were to have a full-time, person that they went to that's well-versed in the genre and the history of the genre, that is not a film that would have been greenlit at all. So,
I mean, I Know What You Did Last Christmas. That's all you got to do. You change the time of year. Bam, there's your movie.
Terrifier 4.
I'm not going to bring up Terrifier. Erik, thanks so much. Yeah, we'll talk to you maybe in next year.
All right, man. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Erik.
This is the season finale of Squib season, a long percolating season that we've been talking about for years. It hasn't been easy. It's been a lot of blood. I know, Thomas, you had a lot of qualms about it. I think the two movies we ended up on were a perfect way to end it, for me anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're both films that I respect. And I mean, 20 films seems like a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like a lot of gunshots and celebration of gunshots, which I'm glad we got some other other films in there, like the original Elephant and maybe even the Gus Van Sant Elephant. So,
like Mona Lisa was also one that was a nice surprise.
Yeah.
Do you want to go down what the best squibs were from each movie? I'll do it as quick as I can.
Sure.
Yeah, we could always edit it out.
Yeah.
Or speed you up.
All right. Revenge. The car seat blood squib. That would be the shot through the guy's head through the car seat. Pretty good. Hell to Eternity. 2 dudes in a cave with the general that are eliminated. John Wick 2 is the marble floor shot. Bonnie and Clyde, squibs at the end. People, cars, and trees. Django Unchained, dude in bath, dick squib. First Blood is a non-blood squib winner, which is the storefront destruction of the city. That one's
yeah.
Scarface is the satin squib and the clown death. Elephant is not applicable because we didn't think it was a good idea. Hard Target, the Roper. Tons of squibs kill. I'm not sure what that means in Hard Target. Roper? Did it autocorrect on me? Anyway. Okay, Terminator, Paul Winfield, Clear Cut, the Mountie, hit in the head, which is pretty much the only squib in the movie. To Live and Die in L.A. is another dick squib. Elephant 89, not applicable. FX is the mirror monster and the satin squib. Miller's Crossing is the foot in the head. Way of the Gun is the shotgun to the dick. This is the third. Mona Lisa's Clark Peters, Against the Wall, Predator, Jesse Ventura, Flora, and Fauna, which is also a non-blood squib. Walker, squib to the head, guy squirting near coffin, and Robocop, of course, is Kinney. Those are all the best squibs.
That was a walk down memory lane. Aside from Roper, I don't know what happened with Roper.
I don't know. I think is that a name of a character?
Maybe.
Yeah,
that's what I assumed.
God damn it! I didn't do any. I didn't look up. Anyway, squibs. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I'm glad it's over.
I'm glad that we're not trying to do top to bottom what our favorite and worst movies were. Just the top surprise movie and our biggest disappointment, independent of squibs.
Ryan?
So, Ryan, you want to go first?
My
disappointment?
My biggest disappointment was Walker, and my surprise was Mona Lisa.
My surprise was also Mona Lisa. And as far as disappointment goes, I don't know. I liked all of them.
Oh,
Sorry.
wow.
Yeah, this is a great season as far as good movies go. I don't care what you guys say.
Like, top surprise, I've already seen First Blood and Walker, so I can't claim that. And I think I saw FX, and it's just a fun movie. I'd say my top surprise is To Live and Die in LA.
Okay.
To live and die in LA.
And my biggest disappointment, and I don't know, I don't have access to the email. Do we have somebody asking for it yet? Because I have Way of the Gun as my biggest disappointment. I was really expecting, I don't know, the writer of Usual Suspects to have a decent follow-up movie. But my other biggest disappointment is surprising that it's not your biggest disappointments, but instead of your biggest surprises. And it was Mona Lisa.
Mm-hmm.
Again, thinking that even though I had seen High Spirits or whatever that movie was that he followed up this Mona Lisa with, I appreciate The Crying Game, and I thought that it would be a better movie. It has Bob Hoskins in it.
I preferred to. I also really enjoyed getting a chance to watch Hell to Eternity, which one movie on the list I probably never would have watched otherwise.
Yeah.
And I quite enjoyed that. Yeah, there's a couple movies where I didn't need to see again, like Django, but, whatever. It's all good.
For the good of the pod.
Yeah.
And speaking of, since this is the finale for this season, I'd like to just take a moment to recognize all of our guests, whether for technical reasons or temperament or ignorance of our existence as a podcast, who didn't make this season possible, including Chaplain Amy, Shannon filling in for Jack when he was in Hawaii on the Terminator episode, record store owner Patrick filling in while I helped the Make a Dish Foundation, the squeaky chair, and Andy on the Garth Marenghi Halloween episode. Your absence was noted.
Yes. They'll all be on next season.
But also those who went out of their way, some even being inanimate objects, to help make season 15 a success. And that includes the ghost of Margaret Thatcher, the sins of Vietnam and Iran-Contra, Satin Squibs, Man Buns, not the hairstyle or the Michael Mann hot dog line. We know what we're talking about. The rapper Cameron, and of course, Stan Winston of Manimal fame.
Yeah, Manimal. He's a man and he could turn into an animal.
And there's a crossover with Night Stalker. What is it? Nightman? Yeah, there's a crossover with Nightman.
If you can track down the Manimal pilot with Simon McQuirkendale, highest recommendation if you take an edible before him. It is worth it. It is hilarious. Next week, we are going to have an epilogue episode with Ryan. It's our first and probably only musical episode.
We will be singing the entire time?
We'll be doing a cappella, all the theme songs that Ryan has done for us.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Thomas will be improvising new lyrics to each one.
It's a treat. Listen for that. And then when we come back with season 16, do we want to announce it or do we want to keep it close to the vest?
Sure. Yeah, we're doing a pincer movement with filmmaker Thomas and I have not seen a single movie of James Gray.
Oh, I forgot that you guys hadn't seen any of his.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Or anything he's written, I think.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to get a little touch of Gray in our lives.
I don't need any more, but you guys certainly need some. And then we're going to have a Christmas episode at some point between now and the end of the year. So there's that.
Well, let's go out with a whimper instead of a bang.
Walker down South American way. It got squibby, sticky, messy when they got there that day. Peyton lost his love and so he made a face. Django met a dentist, but big holes in little brains. Montoya's chest exploded, somehow wasn't the cocaine. And there were squibs when they died. There were squibs when they died. And there were squibs when they died. There were squibs when they died. Yeah, they made a big mess, and then they died.
Oh, because they're both terms for penis.
It's a metaphor for Jesus, Robocop.
Can we get the bitches?
Don't rope me into this. Manimal.